The restraining order arrived on a Tuesday morning. I held the envelope in my hand. The paper felt smooth, cold. My daughter's lawyer had typed my name wrong. Eleanor Crowe, not Crown. After 67 years, she still couldn't get it right. The document said I was dangerous. A threat to my own grandchildren. I set it on the kitchen table. Sunlight cut across the words. 3 weeks earlier, everything had been different. The house smelled like lemon polish that morning. I'd woken at 5:30, same as always. Made coffee in the percolator Henry bought in 1982. The kitchen window showed Lydia's back door, 50 feet away across our shared yard. She'd moved into the rental house last spring. Closer to me, she said. Easier to help. I didn't need help, but I let her believe it. That morning, I watched her kitchen light flicker on. 6 o'clock sharp. She moved past the window with a coffee mug. Her hair was down. She looked tired. The phone rang at 6:15. "Mom, we need to talk." Her voice was flat, rehearsed. "About what?" "About your living situation." I waited. The coffee maker hissed behind me. "Dave and I have been discussing options," she continued. "You're getting older. The house is too much. We found a really nice facility. I'm not going anywhere." Silence stretched between us. I could hear her breathing. "Mom, you're 73. 67. What? I'm 67. You're thinking of Aunt Jean." More silence. Then a sigh. "Either way, you need more support. The kids are worried. Last month you forgot Emma's birthday." I remembered Emma's birthday. I'd sent a card. But I didn't argue. "I'll think about it," I said. "We're coming over Sunday to talk about next steps." She hung up before I could respond. I spent that week cleaning, wiping down baseboards, organizing the medicine cabinet, proving I was fine. Sunday came with rain, gray sheets of it against the windows. Lydia arrived with Dave and the children. Emma was 12 now, tall and quiet. Marcus was 9, loud, always moving. They sat in my living room. On the couch Henry and I had bought at an estate sale in 1979. Dave did most of the talking. He worked in finance, wore glasses that made him look serious. "Eleanor, we've reviewed your finances," he said. "The house is paid off." "That's good. But property taxes are rising. Utilities, maintenance. It's not sustainable." I listened, hands folded in my lap. "If you sold now," he continued, "you could afford a quality assisted living community. With medical staff, activities, other people your age." "I don't want other people my age." Lydia leaned forward. "Mom, we're trying to help." I didn't ask for help. Dave pulled out a folder. Inside were glossy brochures, smiling elderly people playing cards, doing watercolors, looking grateful. "We've narrowed it down to 3 options," he said. "All within 20 minutes. We can visit them together." I looked at the brochures. Then at my daughter. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "No," I said. "Mom, this is my home. Henry and I bought it in 1977. I'm not leaving." Dave's jaw tightened. "Eleanor, be reasonable." "I am being reasonable. You're the one suggesting I abandon 48 years of my life." Lydia stood up. "You're being selfish. Do you know how much time I spend worrying about you? Checking if you've fallen, if you've eaten. I never asked you to worry. That's not how family works." The rain hammered harder. Emma was staring at her phone. Marcus was pulling threads from the couch cushion. "We should go," Dave said. He gathered the brochures, slid them back into the folder. At the door, Lydia turned. "We'll talk again next week." when you've had time to think. I watched them leave, watched their car pull away through the rain. The house felt very quiet after that. The next morning, I found the first note. It was taped to my front door. Typed, not handwritten. Your lawn needs mowing. Please maintain neighborhood standards. No signature. I looked at the grass. It was fine, maybe an inch longer than usual. I mowed it that afternoon. 2 days later, another note appeared. Trash bins must be moved within 24 hours of collection. I'd left them out one extra day. My back had been hurting. I moved the bins. The third note came on Friday. Noise complaint filed. Please keep disturbances to a minimum. I hadn't made any noise. I lived alone, watched television at low volume. I called the homeowners association. They had no record of complaints. That's when I understood. Lydia was building a case, documenting my inability to maintain the house, to care for myself. The restraining order was just the final move. I sat at the kitchen table now, the legal document in front of me. Outside, Lydia's house stood quiet. Curtains drawn. She'd told the court I was unstable, that I'd threatened her children. I'd never threatened anyone in my life. But the judge had believed her, given her temporary custody of my property access, my medical decisions. In 2 weeks, there would be a hearing. To make it permanent, I folded the restraining order, creased it carefully along the lines. Then I picked up the phone. Battle over. Promise kept. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The lawyer's office smelled like old carpet and coffee. I sat in the waiting room, hands folded over my purse. The receptionist had offered me tea. I'd said no. Henry would have wanted tea. Always polite, even when angry. The clock on the wall read 9:45. My appointment was at 10. I'd found the lawyer's name in the phone book. Martha Chen, family law specialist. Her ad said she handled elder rights cases. The door opened. A woman appeared. 50, maybe. Dark hair pulled back tight. She wore a gray suit. She called my name. I stood, followed her down a narrow hallway. Her office was small. Diplomas covered one wall. Stanford, UCLA Law. A photograph showed 2 teenagers in graduation gowns. She gestured to a chair. I sat. She opened a yellow legal pad. Clicked her pen. Then she asked me to explain everything from the beginning. I told her about the phone call, the brochures, the notes on my door. She wrote quickly. Her handwriting was neat, precise. When I mentioned the restraining order, she stopped writing. Looked up. She asked if I'd threatened anyone. Ever raised my voice? Ever touched my grandchildren in anger? No, I said. Never. She made a note, underlined something twice. Then she asked about my finances, my health, my daily routine. I explained the pension from the library where I'd worked 30 years. Social Security, Henry's life insurance, the house, paid off. Every morning I woke at 5:30. Made coffee, read the newspaper, tended my garden. I drove to the grocery store every Thursday, the bank on Fridays, church on Sundays. My last doctor's visit was 6 weeks ago. Blood pressure fine, cholesterol slightly elevated, nothing serious. Martha wrote it all down, page after page. When I finished, she set down her pen. She said my daughter had made serious allegations, that I'd shown erratic behavior, memory loss, aggressive tendencies toward minors. The words sounded absurd in that small office. But Martha's face stayed neutral, professional. She explained that elder abuse cases were common. Sometimes the abuse ran the other direction. Adult children seeking control, financial gain, property access. She'd seen it before, many times. Then she told me the cost. $5,000 retainer. Possibly more if it went to trial. I opened my checkbook, wrote the amount. My hand stayed steady. Martha took the check, slid it into a drawer. She said she'd file a response by Friday. Request full discovery, bank records, medical files, communications between Lydia and her lawyer. She'd also request character witnesses. People who could testify to my stability, my competence. I thought of my neighbors. Ruth, 3 houses down. We'd been friends 40 years. Martha nodded, made another note. Before I left, she said one more thing. That I should document everything. Keep a daily log, times, activities, visitors, anything that proved I was functioning normally. Evidence, she called it. I promised I would. The drive home took 20 minutes. Traffic was light. I parked in my driveway. Sat for a moment before going inside. Lydia's car was in her driveway. A silver Honda. Newer model. Dave had bought it last year. The curtains in her front window moved. Just slightly. Someone was watching. I got out of my car. Walked to my front door. Unlocked it with steady hands. Inside, I made tea. Earl Grey. Henry's favorite. Then I found a spiral notebook in the kitchen drawer. The kind with lined paper. I wrote the date at the top. November 3rd. Below that, I listed the day's events. 5:30, woke up. Made coffee. Toast with butter. 7 o'clock, watered plants. Checked mail. 9 o'clock, drove to lawyer's office. Met with Martha Chen. 11:30, returned home. Made tea. The entries looked simple, ordinary. That was the point. The next morning, I called Ruth. Her voice was warm when she answered. She asked how I was doing. Fine, I told her. But I needed a favor. I explained about the restraining order. The hearing in 2 weeks. The need for character witnesses. Silence filled the line, longer than comfortable. Then Ruth said she'd heard something. From Lydia, at the grocery store, that I'd been forgetting things. Getting confused, acting strangely around the children. Lydia had seemed so worried, Ruth said. So sincere. The kitchen felt very cold suddenly. I asked Ruth if she believed it. Another pause. Then she said she didn't know what to believe. That maybe I should consider getting help. Professional help. We hung up shortly after. I crossed Ruth's name off my list. I tried 2 more neighbors that afternoon. Both had similar responses. Sympathetic but distant. Unwilling to get involved. Lydia had been thorough. Planting seeds. Building consensus. By evening, I had no witnesses. I sat at the kitchen table. The notebook open in front of me. My log for the day half finished. Outside, darkness crept across the yard. Lydia's lights came on. Warm yellow squares against the gray. I thought about Henry. What he would do. How he would fight. But Henry had been a negotiator. A peacemaker. He'd find common ground. Smooth things over. That approach wouldn't work here. This required something different. Something harder. I picked up my pen. Finished the day's log. Then I turned to a fresh page. At the top, I wrote a single word. Strategy. The next 3 days followed the same pattern. Wake. Coffee. Log. Garden. I went to the library Tuesday afternoon. Used the computer there. Looked up property law. Guardianship procedures. Elder rights statutes. The information was dense. Legal. But clear enough. If Lydia won the hearing, she'd gain control. Not just of the house. Of everything. My finances. My medical care. My freedom. I'd become what the law called a dependent adult. A ward. The library closed at 5. I drove home in the fading light. Lydia's car was gone. The house dark. I parked. Walked to my mailbox. Inside was another envelope. Legal size. Same lawyer's office. I opened it standing there in the driveway. A notice of asset freeze. Effective immediately. My bank accounts. My pension deposits. Everything locked pending the hearing. Lydia's lawyer had moved fast. Claimed financial abuse. Self-neglect. Incompetence. The notice said I could access $500 per week. For necessities. Everything else required court approval. I folded the paper. Put it in my purse. Then I walked inside. Made dinner. Scrambled eggs. Toast. After eating, I added the notice to my log. Noted the date. The time I'd received it. Then I called Martha Chen. She answered on the third ring. Her voice was calm. Steady. She said the asset freeze was aggressive but not unusual. That we'd challenge it at the hearing. She asked if I had enough cash to manage until then. I did. Just barely. Martha said to hang on. 2 more weeks. Then we'd present our case. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet house. The refrigerator hummed. The clock ticked. Outside, wind moved through the trees. I thought about power, how Lydia had taken it, piece by piece, and how I would take it back. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The bank manager looked uncomfortable behind his desk. Wednesday morning, 10:15. I'd driven here straight after breakfast. His nameplate said Robert Mitchell. Mid-40s. Wedding ring. Thinning hair. He'd pulled up my accounts on his computer screen. Then turned the monitor slightly away. As if the numbers were something I shouldn't see. He explained that the court order was binding. That his hands were tied. That he sympathized with my situation. But the $500 weekly limit was now in effect. I asked about my pension deposit. Due Friday. $2,300. It would go into the account, he said. But I couldn't touch it. Not without court approval. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The office smelled like toner and mint. I asked if I could withdraw my current balance. Before the freeze took full effect. Robert checked the screen. Shook his head. Too late. The order had processed overnight. I had $473 available until next Wednesday. After that, another $500. Then another the week after. The hearing was 12 days away. I thanked him. Stood to leave. He called after me. Said if there was anything else he could do. There wasn't. The parking lot was nearly empty. Mid-morning. Quiet. I sat in my car. Did the math in my head. Groceries. Utilities. Gas. Martha Chen's additional fees if needed. The numbers didn't work. Not quite. I'd have to be careful. Very careful. The drive home took longer than usual. Traffic on Maple Street. Construction near the highway. When I pulled into my driveway, a white van sat parked across the street. County Health Services printed on the side in blue letters. My front door was open. Just slightly. I got out of the car. Walked toward the house. Inside, voices echoed. Female. Official sounding. I stepped through the doorway. 2 women stood in my living room. Clipboards. County ID badges hanging from lanyards. The older one turned. Smiled. Asked if I was Eleanor Crowe. Crowe, I said. She checked her clipboard. Made a small mark. Then introduced herself as Barbara Reeves. Adult Protective Services. Her partner was younger. 20s maybe. She was photographing my kitchen. The dishes in the sink. The pill bottles on the counter. Barbara explained they'd received a complaint. Concerns about my living conditions. My ability to maintain the home safely. She asked if they could conduct a brief assessment. For my own protection, I asked who filed the complaint. She said that information was confidential, but they were required to investigate all reports. The younger woman moved down the hallway. Her camera clicked, flash bouncing off walls. Barbara walked through the living room, ran a finger along the bookshelf, checked for dust. She opened the refrigerator, examined the contents, asked when I'd last gone shopping. Thursday, I said. 6 days ago. She made a note. Then she checked the bathroom. The bedroom. Looked under the bed. In the closet. The younger woman photographed everything. The unmade bed. The laundry basket. The expired coupons on my dresser. 20 minutes later, they finished. Barbara said the home appeared adequately maintained. No immediate safety concerns, but she'd include the photos in her report. For the court's review, she handed me a pamphlet. Resources for seniors, meal delivery, home health aides, emergency contacts. Then they left. The white van pulled away. Disappeared around the corner. I closed the door. Locked it. The house felt violated. Exposed. I walked through each room. Saw it through their eyes. The cluttered counters. The dust. The evidence of a woman living alone. Everything documented now. Photographed. Filed. I sat on the couch. The same couch where Lydia had sat 2 weeks ago. Telling me I needed to leave. Outside, a car door slammed. Lydia's voice drifted across the yard. Talking to someone. Laughing. I stood. Walked to the window. She was at her mailbox. Chatting with the mail carrier. Casual. Relaxed. She glanced toward my house. Our eyes met through the glass. She didn't look away. Didn't smile. Just watched. Then she turned. Walked back inside. The door clicked shut behind her. I let the curtain fall. That afternoon, I cleaned. Really cleaned. Scrubbed the kitchen counters. Washed the dishes. Organized the pill bottles alphabetically. Made the bed with hospital corners. The way Henry used to. Tight. Perfect. Vacuumed every room. Dusted every surface. Threw out the expired coupons. The work took 3 hours. My back ached. My hands cramped. But when I finished, the house looked different. Controlled. Managed. Ready for the next inspection. The next photographer. At 5 o'clock, I added the day's events to my log. 10:15, bank visit. Account frozen. $473 accessible. 11:30, home inspection. Adult Protective Services. Barbara Reeves conducting. 2:30, house cleaning. All rooms. 3 hours duration. The entries looked calm. Factual. They didn't show the anger. The humiliation. That wasn't the point. I made dinner. Chicken breast. Steamed broccoli. Food that would photograph well if they came back. After eating, I called Martha Chen. Her secretary said she was with a client. Could she call back? I said it was urgent. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. Martha's voice was rushed. Busy. She had a deposition in an hour. I told her about the inspection. The photographs. The complaint. She went quiet, then asked if they'd found anything. Anything concerning. No, I said. Nothing. She sighed. Said it was a harassment tactic. Designed to build their case. Create a pattern of instability. She'd file a motion. Claim intimidation. Request sanctions. But it would take time. And the photos were already in the system. After we hung up, I sat in the darkening kitchen. The refrigerator hummed. The clock ticked. Same sounds as always. But everything had changed. I thought about Lydia, how thoroughly she'd planned this. The notes, the neighbors, the restraining order, the asset freeze, the inspection, each step calculated, documented, legal. She'd learned well, probably from Dave, his financial mind, his strategic thinking. They were dismantling my life with paperwork, with official channels, nothing I could argue with, nothing I could fight directly. I opened my notebook, turned to the strategy page. Below the single word I'd written before, I added another line. Fight fire with fire. Then I closed the notebook. Put it in the kitchen drawer. Tomorrow I'd start, but tonight, I needed to think. I made tea, Earl Grey again, carried it to the living room. The house was clean now. Perfect. Ready for inspection. But perfect wasn't enough. Not anymore. I needed something else. Something they weren't expecting. Outside, darkness settled over the neighborhood. Lights came on in windows. People making dinner, watching television. Normal lives. Uninterrupted lives. I sipped my tea. Thought about Henry. He'd always said that power wasn't about strength. It was about information. Knowing what others didn't. Seeing what others missed. I'd been defending, reacting, following their moves. That had to stop. I stood, walked to the window again. Lydia's house glowed warm across the yard. Curtains open. I could see movement inside. Dave at the table. Emma on the couch. Marcus running past. A family. Normal. Concerned. That's what they looked like. What they wanted everyone to see. But I knew something they didn't know I knew. The rental house Lydia lived in. I owned it. Henry had bought it in 1995. An investment property. We'd rented it out for years. When Lydia moved in last spring, I'd given her a reduced rate. Family discount. The deed was still in my name. Filed at the county recorder's office. And if they froze my assets, took control of my property, they'd have to account for that rental income, that property value, all documented, all legal. I smiled, just slightly. Tomorrow I'd call Martha, tell her about the house. The pieces were starting to shift. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Thursday morning arrived cold and gray. I called Martha Chen at 8:30. Before she started her day. Her secretary put me through immediately. Martha listened while I explained about the rental property. The deed in my name. The reduced rent I'd been charging Lydia. Silence filled the line. Then she asked for the exact address. I gave it. 847 Oakwood Lane. Right behind my house. Martha asked how much rent Lydia paid monthly. $800, I said. Market rate was $1,500. More silence. The sound of typing. Martha taking notes. She said this changed things. Significantly. If Lydia gained control of my assets, she'd effectively control her own housing. A clear conflict of interest. She asked if I had documentation. The deed, rental agreements, payment records, everything was in my filing cabinet. Organized by year. Martha said to bring it all to her office. Today if possible. The appointment was set for 2 o'clock. After hanging up, I went to the spare bedroom. The one Henry used as an office. The filing cabinet stood in the corner. Gray metal. 4 drawers. I opened the second drawer. Found the folder labeled Property Documents. Inside was the deed. Recorded April 1995. Purchase price $68,000. Below that, rental agreements dating back 15 years. Different tenants. Different amounts. Lydia's agreement was on top. Signed last April. Month-to-month lease. $800 due on the 1st. I gathered everything. Put it in a manila envelope. Then I checked the bottom drawer. Found the bank statements showing her payments. Every month. Always on time. Direct deposit into my account. The same account that was now frozen. The irony wasn't lost on me. I made coffee. Toast with jam. Ate standing at the kitchen counter. Through the window, Lydia's house sat quiet. Her car was gone. Dave's too. The kids would be at school. Dave at work. Lydia probably running errands. Normal Thursday morning. For them. I washed my dishes. Dried them. Put them away. At 9:15, the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. A man in a brown uniform. Clipboard in hand. I opened the door. Chain still on. He said he was from the county assessor's office. Here to conduct a property evaluation. I asked if he had identification. He held up his badge. County seal. Photo ID. Name tag reading James Porter. I asked why my property needed evaluation. He checked his clipboard. Said it was part of a guardianship proceeding. Standard procedure. Everything was standard procedure now. I unlatched the chain. Let him inside. James walked through each room. Measured dimensions. Took notes. Photographed structural elements. He checked the foundation. The roof. The electrical panel. The plumbing. In the backyard, he examined the fence. The shed. The garden beds. Then he asked about the property behind mine. The rental house. I said I owned it. He made a note. Asked if he could evaluate that property too. I said my daughter lived there. She wasn't home. He said he'd come back. Schedule it with her directly. The evaluation took 40 minutes. When he finished, James handed me a receipt. Property assessment completed. Results would be submitted to the court within 5 business days. Then he left. His county vehicle pulled away down the street. I locked the door. Added the visit to my log. 9:15, property assessor. James Porter. County evaluation for guardianship proceedings. The words looked clinical, detached. They didn't capture the feeling of strangers walking through my home. Measuring my life. At 1:30, I drove to Martha's office. Traffic was heavy. Lunch hour. Everyone rushing somewhere. I parked in the small lot behind her building. Carried the manila envelope inside. Martha was waiting. She'd cleared her desk. Set up a portable scanner. She went through each document. Asked questions. Made notes. When she saw the rental agreement, she paused. Read it carefully. Then she said this was exactly what we needed. Proof that Lydia had financial interest in controlling my assets. She scanned everything. Created a digital file. Organized by date and type. When she finished, she explained the plan. We'd submit this as evidence. Show the court that Lydia wasn't acting in my best interest. She was acting in her own. The hearing was 9 days away. Martha would file the new evidence by Monday. She asked if there was anything else. Any other properties, assets, agreements. I thought for a moment. Then mentioned Henry's life insurance policy. Martha leaned forward, asked for details. The policy was worth $200,000. Paid out in 2018. When Henry died, I'd put most of it in savings. Used some for his funeral. The headstone. Flowers every month. The account was separate from my checking. Higher interest rate. Meant for emergencies. Martha asked if Lydia knew about it. Probably, I said. She'd helped with paperwork after Henry passed. Martha made another note, asked for the account number, the bank name. I gave her what I remembered. She said she'd request those records too. Before I left, Martha said something else. That I should prepare myself. The hearing would be difficult. Lydia's lawyer would attack my competence, my memory, my decision-making. They'd use the inspection photos, the neighbor statements, the restraining order. Everything would be public, on record. I said I understood. Martha studied me across the desk, then nodded, said she believed me. The drive home felt longer, heavier. Clouds gathered overhead. The radio predicted rain by evening. I stopped at the grocery store. Used my debit card. $43 for a week of food. The card went through. Barely. At home, I put away the groceries. Made a simple dinner. Soup from a can. While eating, I watched Lydia's house through the window. Lights came on at 5:30. Dave's car pulled in. Then Lydia's. The family together again. Marcus running inside. Emma following slowly. Normal evening. Normal life. Except it was built on my property. Subsidized by my generosity. And they were trying to take everything else. After dinner, I updated my log. Added the assessor visit. The meeting with Martha. The grocery trip. Then I sat in the living room. Lights off. Just shadows and silence. Henry's photograph watched from the mantel. Taken on our 30th anniversary. Smiling. Happy. He'd always trusted Lydia. Said she was strong. Independent. Good with money. He'd been proud of her. Of the life she'd built. I wondered what he'd think now. If he'd understand. If he'd forgive her. Or if he'd see what I saw. The calculation. The coldness. Rain started around 8. Soft at first. Then harder. It drummed against the roof. Ran down the windows. Pooled in the yard. I watched it fall. Watched the water blur Lydia's house into soft shapes. 9 days until the hearing. 9 days to gather everything I needed. 9 days to prove I wasn't what they said I was. The rain fell harder. Thunder rumbled in the distance. I turned off the lamp. Sat in the dark. Tomorrow I'd go to the county recorder's office. Get copies of every document. Every deed. Every filing. I'd photograph my house. Show that it was clean. Maintained. Safe. I'd document every medication. Every doctor visit. Every routine. They wanted evidence of incompetence. I'd give them evidence of the opposite. The storm grew stronger. Wind rattled the windows. Lightning flashed. But inside, the house stayed steady. Solid. Built in 1952. Survived earthquakes. Fires. Floods. Survived Henry's death. My grief. Years of being alone. It would survive this too. I stood. Walked to the bedroom. Changed into nightclothes. The rain continued. Steady. Relentless. I lay in bed. Listened to it fall. And began planning tomorrow. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Friday morning brought unexpected mail. I found the envelope wedged in my screen door. Not in the mailbox. Hand-delivered. Plain white. No return address. My name printed in block letters. Inside was a single sheet of paper. A list. Typed. Incidents of concern, the heading read. Below that, dates. Times. Descriptions. September 12th. Left stove burner on for 3 hours. Smoke detector activated. September 28th. Found wandering in neighbor's yard at night. Confused about location. October 15th. Forgot granddaughter's birthday. No card sent. No phone call made. October 22nd. Hostile interaction with mail carrier. Used profane language. November 1st. Medication bottles expired. Prescriptions not refilled for 6 months. 12 incidents total. Each one dated. Specific. Convincing. Also completely false. I read the list 3 times. Standing in my doorway. Rain from last night still dripping from the eaves. The stove incident never happened. My smoke detector hadn't gone off in 5 years. I'd never wandered anywhere. Never forgotten Emma's birthday. Never cursed at anyone. My medications were current. Organized. Taken daily at 7 a.m. But someone had documented these lies. Prepared them like evidence. I folded the paper. Put it in my pocket. Then I locked my door. Got in my car. Drove to Martha's office. She wasn't expecting me. Her secretary said she was in a meeting. I said I'd wait. 20 minutes later, Martha appeared. Saw my face. Ushered me into her office immediately. I handed her the paper. She read it slowly. Her expression darkened with each line. When she finished, she asked where I got it. My front door, I said. This morning. Someone delivered it overnight. Martha set the paper on her desk. Asked if any of it was true. None of it, I said. She believed me, but she explained the problem. These allegations would be in Lydia's court filing. Presented as fact. We'd need to disprove each one. With evidence. Documentation. Witnesses. The stove incident. Did I have proof it didn't happen? How do you prove something didn't happen? I asked. Martha paused. Then said we'd need to show my stove's condition. My smoke detector's test history. Any maintenance records. For the wandering claim, we'd need neighbor statements. Security footage if available. For the birthday incident, proof I'd sent a card. Bank records showing the purchase. I had sent a card. From the drugstore on Elm Street. September 14th. Martha made a note. Said to find the receipt. The credit card statement. We went through each allegation. One by one. Building our defense. The meeting lasted an hour. When I left, Martha had assigned me homework. Gather every receipt. Every prescription bottle. Every piece of mail. Every document. We had 8 days until the hearing. The county recorder's office occupied the basement of the courthouse. Fluorescent lights. Gray tile floors. The smell of old paper and copying machines. I waited in line behind a young couple. They were filing a marriage license. Excited. Nervous. When my turn came, I asked for copies of all property records under my name. The clerk was older. 60s maybe. She wore reading glasses on a chain. She typed into her computer. Waited. Then wrote down 3 file numbers. 2 properties registered to Eleanor Crowe. The main house. The rental. She asked if I wanted certified copies. I did. They cost more but carried legal weight. She disappeared into the back. Returned 15 minutes later with a manila folder. Inside were the deeds, property tax records, transfer documents, all stamped with the county seal. The copies cost $42. I paid in cash. Outside, the morning had turned bright. Cold but clear. I sat in my car. Looked through the documents. Everything confirmed what I'd told Martha. The rental property was mine. Purchased in 1995. Never transferred. Lydia's name appeared nowhere. No co-ownership. No legal claim. Just a tenant. Paying below market rent. I drove to the drugstore next. The one on Elm Street. The manager remembered me. I'd been shopping there for 30 years. I explained that I needed records. Credit card receipts from September. She checked her system. Found the transaction. September 14th. Greeting card purchase. $3.49. She printed a copy, handed it across the counter. I thanked her, asked one more thing, whether she'd be willing to write a statement, confirming I was a regular customer, that I seemed competent, capable. She hesitated, said she'd have to check with corporate policy. I understood, gave her Martha's business card, asked her to call if she could help. Then I left, drove to my doctor's office. The receptionist knew me by name, asked if I had an appointment. Not today, I said. But I needed copies of my medical records, recent visits, prescriptions, test results. She checked with the office manager. They could provide records going back 2 years. There was a fee, $25, and a 3-day processing time. I paid, filled out the request form. They'd mail the records to my house. By noon, I'd visited 4 locations, gathered 6 types of documentation. My debit card showed $31 remaining until next Wednesday. I stopped at a fast food restaurant, ordered from the dollar menu, ate in my car. The parking lot was full. Lunch rush, people in work clothes, teenagers on break, normal life continuing around me, unaware of courts and accusations and frozen assets. After eating, I drove home. A white sedan sat parked in front of my house. Unfamiliar. I pulled into my driveway, watched the car in my rearview mirror. The driver got out. A woman, 40s, professional clothes, briefcase. She walked toward me, called my name. I rolled down my window, asked who she was. She introduced herself as Jennifer Park, Lydia's lawyer. I said nothing, waited. Jennifer said she wanted to talk. Off the record, woman to woman. About what? I asked. About resolving this situation without more conflict, without the hearing, without damaging the family further. She said Lydia didn't want this either, that it had gotten out of hand, that they could work something out. A compromise, she called it. I asked what kind of compromise. Jennifer opened her briefcase, pulled out a folder. Inside was a document, a voluntary conservatorship agreement, where I'd transfer financial control to Lydia, temporarily, while maintaining limited independence. I could stay in my house, keep a small monthly allowance, make certain decisions, but Lydia would manage the money, the properties, the healthcare decisions, all voluntary, Jennifer said. No court battle, no public records, no humiliation. She held out the document, said I should read it, think about it, discuss it with my lawyer. But time was short. The offer expired Monday morning. I took the document, didn't read it, just held it in my lap. Jennifer said one more thing. That fighting would only make it worse, cost more money, create more damage. Family was important, worth protecting, even if it required sacrifice. Then she walked back to her car, drove away. I sat in my driveway, the document in my hands. The words were familiar, reasonable, logical, but underneath them was something else. Something cold. Give up now. Stop fighting. Accept your place. I carried the document inside, set it on the kitchen counter. Then I made tea, sat down, read every word. The agreement transferred everything, all assets, all authority, all power. In exchange, I'd receive $800 monthly. Enough for food, utilities, nothing more. The rental property would transfer to Lydia. No compensation, no fair market value. My pension would fund my care. My life insurance would be managed at her discretion. I'd become dependent, controlled, managed, a ward in everything but name. I set down the document. Picked up my phone. Called Martha Chen. Left a message with her secretary. Lydia's lawyer just offered a settlement. Voluntary conservatorship. Needs immediate review. Then I added the incident to my log. 12:15. Jennifer Park visit. Settlement offer presented. Voluntary conservatorship proposed. The pen moved steadily across the page. My handwriting unchanged. Clear. Precise. Not the handwriting of someone incompetent. Confused. Dangerous. Outside, clouds gathered again. More rain coming. But inside, everything was sharp. Focused. 8 days until the hearing. I wasn't giving up. Not now. Not ever. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Saturday morning came with silence. No visitors. No deliveries. No assessors or lawyers or health inspectors. Just empty hours stretching ahead. I used them. At 6 a.m., I started photographing the house. Every room. Every corner. Every surface. The kitchen counters, clean and organized. Medications lined up alphabetically. Expiration dates clearly visible. The living room, dust-free. Books arranged on shelves. Remote controls in their holder. The bathroom, spotless. Towels folded. Toilet scrubbed. Mirror gleaming. The bedroom, bed made with precision. Closet organized by color. Laundry hampered but not overflowing. Each photo was evidence. Proof of competence. Of control. I used my phone. Took 47 pictures. Uploaded them to the computer Henry bought in 2019. The computer was slow. 5 years old. But it worked. I created a folder. Labeled it Home Documentation. Dated each file. Then I printed copies. 10 pages. Used the last of my printer ink. The cartridge had been running low for months. Now it was empty. Black streaks across the final page. A new cartridge cost $30. Money I didn't have until Wednesday. I made a note. Added it to the growing list of things that needed buying. At 9 o'clock, Martha called. She'd reviewed the settlement offer. Her voice was tight. Controlled anger underneath. The terms were predatory, she said. Designed to strip me of everything while appearing voluntary. If I signed, I'd have no legal recourse. No way to reverse it. No appeal process. She asked if I was considering it. No, I said. Good, Martha replied. Because we're going to win this. She'd filed the property documents Friday afternoon. The deed. The rental agreements. The payment records. She'd also filed a motion challenging the incident list. Requesting proof. Demanding witnesses. Monday morning, she'd submit the settlement offer as evidence. Show the court that Lydia's true motivation was financial control. Everything was building. Coming together. The hearing was 6 days away. Friday morning. 9 a.m. Courtroom 3. Martha said to be prepared. Dress professionally. Bring all documents. Arrive 30 minutes early. She'd meet me outside the courtroom. Walk me through the process. After hanging up, I stood in the quiet kitchen. Sunlight slanted through the window. Lydia's car sat in her driveway. Dave's truck beside it. Saturday morning. Family home. I wondered what they were doing. Eating breakfast probably. Watching cartoons with Marcus. Planning their day. Did they think about me? About what they were doing? About how it would end? Or had they already moved on? Already divided up my belongings in their minds? The house would be sold. The money split. The memories erased. Everything Henry and I built. Gone. I turned away from the window. At 10 o'clock, I drove to the library. The same one where I'd worked for 30 years. Children's section. Weekday mornings. Retirement in 2015. The building was unchanged. Brick exterior. Green awnings. Wide front steps. Inside smelled like books and floor polish. Familiar. Safe. The head librarian was new. Young. Mid-30s maybe. But she recognized me. She called me Mrs. Crowe. Asked how I was doing. I said fine. Then asked if I could use the computer. The public access terminal. She said of course. Helped me log in. Showed me the printer codes. I spent 2 hours researching. Reading case law. Guardianship precedents. Elder rights protections. The information was dense. Legal terminology. Court citations. But patterns emerged. Judges favored autonomy. Independence. Unless clear incompetence was proven. Financial motivation by petitioners was grounds for dismissal. Especially when property was involved. False allegations could result in sanctions. Even criminal charges if proven malicious. I printed 23 pages. Used the library's free printing allowance. Took notes in my spiral notebook. By noon, I had a clearer picture. Understanding the battlefield. Before leaving, I asked the head librarian one more thing. Whether she remembered me, from when I worked here. Whether I'd seemed competent then. She smiled. Said I'd been one of the best. Organized. Reliable. Patient with the children. I asked if she'd be willing to write that down. A brief statement. For legal purposes. Her smile faded. She asked what this was about. A family matter, I said. Court proceedings. Nothing serious. She said she'd have to think about it. Check with the library board. I understood. Gave her Martha's card. Left it at the front desk. Then I drove home. Stopped at the grocery store. Spent $18 on food for the week. The cashier was young. Barely 20. She moved slowly. Checked each price twice. The woman behind me sighed. Tapped her foot. Checked her phone repeatedly. Impatience. Everywhere. For everything. No one wanted to wait. To think. To consider. They just wanted things done. Resolved. Finished. Like Lydia. Like Dave. Like their lawyer. Get Eleanor out of the way. Problem solved. Move forward. I paid. Took my bags. Drove home carefully. At home, I put away the groceries. Made lunch. Tuna sandwich. Apple slices. While eating, I reviewed my documentation. The printed photos. The property records. The prescription receipts. Everything organized in folders. Color-coded. Labeled. The work of someone methodical. Capable. In control. Not confused. Not incompetent. Not dangerous. The afternoon stretched long. Empty. I cleaned the already clean house. Watered plants that didn't need watering. Straightened books already straight. Keeping busy. Keeping focused. At 4 o'clock, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. A man's voice. Official. Clipped. He identified himself as Detective Ross. County Sheriff's Department. He said he needed to ask me some questions. About allegations made by my daughter. What kind of allegations? I asked. He said he preferred to discuss it in person. Could he come by now? I said yes. Gave him the address he already had. 20 minutes later, a patrol car pulled up. Unmarked. No lights. Detective Ross was 50s. Gray hair. Tired eyes. He wore a suit. Not a uniform. At the door, he showed me his badge. Asked to come inside. I let him in. Offered coffee. He declined. We sat in the living room. He pulled out a notebook. Then he asked about the incident list. Had I left the stove on? Wandered at night. Threatened anyone? No, I said. None of that happened. He made notes. Asked if I had proof. I showed him my documentation. The photos. The maintenance records. The neighbor interactions log. He looked through everything. Took his time. Asked detailed questions. Why would your daughter make these claims? He asked. I explained about the house. The rental property. The frozen assets. The settlement offer. He listened. Wrote more. His expression gave nothing away. After 30 minutes, he closed his notebook. Stood. He said the investigation was ongoing. That he'd need to interview witnesses. Review evidence. But preliminary assessment suggested the allegations were unfounded. He'd include that in his report. For the court's consideration. Then he left. Drove away in his unmarked car. I sat in the quiet house. Hands shaking slightly. The detective had believed me. Had seen through the lies. Another piece falling into place. I added the visit to my log. 4:20. Detective Ross interview. Allegations reviewed. Found unfounded. Outside, shadows lengthened across the yard. Evening approaching. Lydia's house lit up. Windows glowing warm. Curtains drawn. She didn't know about the detective yet. Or the property documents. Or the settlement being used against her. She thought she was winning. Thought everything was going according to plan. But the plan was changing. Shifting. 6 days until the hearing. 6 days to gather the last pieces. 6 days until the truth came out. I made dinner. Simple. Soup and crackers. Ate at the kitchen table. Then I sat in the darkening living room. Henry's photo watching from the mantel. He'd always said that patience was power. That waiting was a weapon. I was waiting. Building. Preparing. And when the moment came, I'd be ready. The house settled around me. Familiar creaks. Comfortable silence. My fortress. My evidence. My proof. They wanted to take it. Sell it. Erase it. But it wasn't going anywhere. And neither was I. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Monday morning arrived with unexpected snow. Not much. Just a dusting. Enough to make the world look clean. Fresh. I woke at 5:30. Made coffee. Watched the white blanket cover everything outside. Lydia's driveway. My garden. The fence between our properties. All hidden beneath the same white layer. At 7 o'clock, my medical records arrived. The mail carrier rang the doorbell. Handed me a thick manila envelope. Required signature. Inside were 83 pages. Every doctor visit from the past 2 years. Every prescription. Every test result. Blood pressure. Cholesterol. Bone density. Vision. Hearing. All normal. Age appropriate. No cognitive decline. No memory issues. No concerns noted. Dr. Patterson's notes were detailed. Clear. Professional. Patient presents as alert and oriented. Excellent recall. Manages medications independently. No assistance required. I read every page. Highlighted key sections. Added them to my evidence folder. Then I called Martha. Left a message that the records had arrived. She called back 30 minutes later. Her voice was energized. Almost excited. She said everything was aligning. The detective's report had been filed. Preliminary findings supported my competence. The drugstore manager had called. Agreed to provide a written statement. About my regular patronage. My consistent behavior. And the library board had approved. The head librarian would testify if needed. 3 witnesses now. Plus documentation. Plus the property records. Martha said Lydia's lawyer had called her Friday afternoon. Asking if I'd reviewed the settlement offer. Martha had said yes. and that we rejected it. Completely. There was silence on the line. Then Jennifer Park had asked what it would take. What number? What terms? Martha had said no number. No terms. We were going to court. Jennifer had warned that it would get ugly. That they had evidence. Witnesses. Medical opinions. Martha had said we had evidence too. And we'd see her Friday. After hanging up, I sat at the kitchen table. The medical records spread before me. 83 pages of proof. That my mind was sound. My body functional. My life under control. They couldn't argue with that. Couldn't dismiss it. Unless they had something else. Something I hadn't anticipated. At 9 o'clock, I drove to Martha's office. Delivered the medical records personally. She was in court until 11. Her secretary said to leave them. Martha would review everything tonight. I left the envelope. Drove to the bank. Robert Mitchell saw me coming. His expression shifted. Uncomfortable. Apologetic. I asked about my pension deposit. Due Friday. Whether I could access it yet. He checked his system. Shook his head. Still frozen. Still restricted. I had $214 until Wednesday. Then another $500 weekly allowance. The hearing was 4 days away. If we lost, the freeze became permanent. If we won, everything unfroze. Access restored. Control returned. Everything rode on Friday. I thanked Robert. Left the bank. Sat in my car. The snow had melted already. Gray slush in the gutters. Dirt showing through. Temporary beauty. Gone as fast as it came. At noon, I stopped at the post office. Checked my P.O. box. Inside were 3 envelopes. Bills mostly. Electric company. Water department. Property taxes. And 1 personal letter. Handwritten address. No return information. I opened it in my car. Inside was a single sheet of notebook paper. Child's handwriting. Careful letters. Dear Grandma, it read. I miss you. Mom says you're sick. Are you okay? Please write back. Love, Emma. The paper trembled in my hands. Emma didn't know. Didn't understand. She believed what Lydia told her. That I was sick. Confused. Dangerous maybe. She was 12. Old enough to question. But still young enough to trust. I folded the letter. Put it in my purse. Then I drove home. Wrote a response. Kept it simple. Truthful. Dear Emma, I'm not sick. I'm fine. I miss you too. This will be resolved soon. Love always. Grandma. I addressed it to Lydia's house. Added a stamp. Drove back to the post office. The letter disappeared into the blue mailbox. Gone. Whether Emma would receive it. Whether Lydia would intercept it. I didn't know. But I'd tried. That mattered. At home, I made lunch. Leftover soup. Crackers. While eating, I reviewed my preparation checklist. Medical records. Submitted. Property documents. Filed. Witness statements. Confirmed. Detective report. Completed. Photography evidence. Printed. Daily logs. Updated. Court outfit. Cleaned and pressed. Everything ready. 4 days to wait. The afternoon dragged. Minutes felt like hours. I tried reading. Couldn't focus. Tried television. Nothing held my attention. Finally I went outside. Into the backyard. Started pulling weeds from the garden beds. The ground was cold. Hard. My knees protested. But the work felt good. Physical. Real. Something I could control. Something with visible results. An hour later, the garden was pristine. Weeds gone. Soil neat. Plants arranged. I stood. Brushed dirt from my pants. Looked at what I'd accomplished. Then I saw Lydia. standing at her back door, watching me. We locked eyes across the yard, 50 feet apart. Neither of us moved. Neither looked away. She'd gotten thinner, dark circles under her eyes, stress showing. Good, I thought. Let her feel it. Let her understand the weight. After a long moment, she turned, went inside. The door closed firmly. Not quite a slam, but close. I went inside too, washed my hands, made tea. The house felt warmer somehow. Stronger. Like it knew what was coming. Like it was preparing too. Tuesday brought another visitor. Morning. 10 o'clock. A social worker this time. County services. Different from Barbara Reeves. This one was younger. Male. He introduced himself as Michael Torres. He said he was conducting a follow-up assessment. Standard procedure before hearings. I let him in. Showed him the clean house. The organized medications. The stocked refrigerator. He took notes. Asked questions. How did I spend my days? Who did I talk to? What did I eat? I answered everything. Calmly. Factually. He asked about family relationships. About Lydia. About the grandchildren. I explained the situation. The guardianship petition. The false allegations. The property dispute. He listened. Wrote more. His face stayed neutral. Then he asked the question I'd been expecting. Do you feel safe in this home? Yes, I said. Do you feel you can care for yourself adequately? Yes. Would you be willing to accept assistance if it was offered? If I needed it, yes. But I don't need it. Michael made final notes. Then closed his folder. He said his report would be submitted Wednesday, in time for the hearing. Based on his observations, he saw no cause for concern. No reason to recommend intervention. I thanked him. Walked him to the door. After he left, I added the visit to my log. 10 o'clock. Michael Torres. County social worker. Follow-up assessment. No concerns noted. The entries were stacking up. Page after page. Evidence of my routine. My stability. My competence. Wednesday morning, Martha called. Final preparation, she said. The hearing was 36 hours away. She'd reviewed everything. The medical records. The property documents. The witness statements. The detective's report. Our case was strong. Stronger than she'd initially thought. But she warned me. Lydia's lawyer would attack. Hard. Personal. Brutal. They'd question my memory. My judgment. My relationships. My parenting. Everything would be exposed. Examined. Challenged. I needed to stay calm. Answer truthfully. Don't get defensive. Don't get emotional. Let the evidence speak. Let the facts tell the story. I said I understood. Martha asked one last time. Was I sure, really sure, about going through with this? The settlement was still technically available. Until tomorrow morning. If I changed my mind. I said I was sure. Martha was quiet for a moment. Then she said okay. She'd see me Friday, 8:30, outside courtroom 3. We'd win this. Together. After hanging up, I sat in the silent house. 36 hours. Tomorrow would be Thursday. The day before. Final preparation. Final waiting. Then Friday. The hearing. The confrontation. The resolution. One way or another, it would end. I stood. Walked to Henry's photo. Touched the frame gently. He would have hated this. The conflict. The lawyers. The court. But he would have understood. Why I couldn't back down. Why I had to fight. This house. This life. This independence. Worth defending. Worth protecting. Worth everything. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Thursday passed in careful stillness. I woke at dawn, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table watching light creep across the yard. Tomorrow would change everything. One direction or another. The house felt different, expectant, like it was holding its breath with me. I spent the morning reviewing documents. One final time, making sure nothing was missing. The property deeds, the medical records, the prescription receipts, the witness statements, the daily logs, everything organized in manila folders. Labeled, color-coded, ready. At 10 o'clock, I pressed my court outfit. Navy dress, simple, professional, the one I'd worn to Henry's funeral. The iron hissed against fabric. Steam rising, creases disappearing. I hung the dress on the closet door. Polished my black shoes, set them beneath. Everything ready, waiting. The doorbell rang at 11. Through the peephole, I saw Emma. Alone. No Lydia, no Dave, just my granddaughter, standing on my porch, backpack over one shoulder. I opened the door, chain still on. Emma looked up. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying. She asked if she could come in. Just for a minute. I hesitated. The restraining order, the rules, the legal complications. But she was 12, and she was crying. I unlatched the chain, let her inside. She stood in the entryway. Small, uncertain, nothing like the confident girl from a month ago. She said she'd gotten my letter. That her mom had tried to throw it away. But she'd found it in the trash. That she'd walked here, after school, while Lydia thought she was at soccer practice. She had 20 minutes before someone noticed. I asked what she needed to know. Emma looked at the floor. Then back at me. She asked if I was really sick. If I'd really done the things her mom said. The forgetting. The wandering. The threats. No, I told her. None of it was true. She asked why her mom would lie. I explained. Simply, honestly, about the house. The money, the control, that sometimes adults made choices for the wrong reasons. Even good people, even parents. Emma was quiet, processing. Then she asked what would happen tomorrow. At the hearing, I said the truth would come out. One way or another. She asked if I'd still be her grandma. After everything. Always, I said. She hugged me then. Quick, tight. Then pulled away. She said she had to go. Had to get back before they noticed. But she wanted me to know. That she believed me. That she loved me. Then she left. Running down the street. Backpack bouncing. I watched until she disappeared around the corner. Then I closed the door. Locked it. Stood in the quiet entryway. Emma believed me. That mattered. More than anything else. Whatever happened tomorrow, at least one person knew the truth. The afternoon stretched long. Empty. I tried to eat lunch. Couldn't. My stomach was tight. Nervous. Instead I walked through the house. Room by room. Saying goodbye. Just in case. The kitchen where Henry made pancakes every Sunday. The living room where we watched the moon landing. The bedroom where we'd slept 35 years. Every corner held memories. Every surface told stories. This house was more than property. More than assets. More than real estate value. It was a life. Our life. Still living. Still breathing. At 3 o'clock, Martha called. Final check-in, she said. Making sure I was ready. Mentally. Emotionally. I said I was. She reminded me of the plan. Arrive 8:30. Meet outside courtroom 3. Stay calm during proceedings. Answer only what was asked. The hearing would likely take 2 hours. Maybe 3. Depending on witnesses. Cross-examination. Judges' questions. She'd present our evidence first. Property documents. medical records, detective report, witness testimony. Then Lydia's lawyer would present theirs. The incident list, whatever witnesses they'd found, their medical expert, then closing arguments, then the judge's decision, possibly immediate, possibly taken under advisement. No way to know. I asked what happened if we lost. Martha was quiet, then said we'd appeal, file motions, fight every step. But her voice carried doubt. Appeals took months, cost money I didn't have. If we lost tomorrow, that was probably it. I thanked her, hung up. The house felt very quiet after that. I made tea, didn't drink it, just held the cup, feeling its warmth. Outside, the November afternoon faded to evening. Shadows lengthening, temperature dropping. Lydia's car pulled into her driveway at 5:30. Dave's truck right behind. Normal evening. Dinner. Homework. Television. Did they feel nervous? Worried? Guilty? Or confident? Certain of victory? Already planning what to do with my house? I watched their windows light up. Warm yellow against the darkening sky. Tomorrow we'd sit across a courtroom. Mother and daughter. Adversaries. The thought made me tired. So tired. At 6, I forced myself to eat. Scrambled eggs. Toast. Food I could manage. Then I updated my log. One final time. Thursday, November 13th. Final preparation day. Emma visit. Martha check-in. Court outfit ready. Evidence organized. Tomorrow, November 14th. Hearing. 9 a.m. Courtroom 3. The words looked simple. Clinical. They didn't capture the weight. The fear. The determination. I closed the notebook. Put it in my purse. Ready to bring tomorrow. At 7, I tried to watch television. Nothing held my attention. At 8, I tried to read. The words blurred together. At 9, I gave up. Went to bed. Lay in the darkness. Sleep wouldn't come. My mind raced. Reviewing arguments. Anticipating questions. Imagining outcomes. Midnight passed. Then 1 a.m. Then 2. Finally, near 3, exhaustion pulled me under. I dreamed of Henry. Young. Smiling. Standing in our empty house. The day we moved in. Telling me it was perfect. That we'd be happy here. That it was ours forever. In the dream, I believed him. My alarm rang at 5:30. Friday morning. November 14th. Hearing day. I got up. Showered. Dressed carefully in the navy dress. The polished shoes. Made coffee. Toast. Forced myself to eat. At 7, I gathered my evidence folders. My purse. My keys. The house was spotless. Ready. As if for inspection. In case they came today. In case I lost. In case this was the last morning here. I walked through one more time. Touching walls. Door frames. Surfaces. Henry's photo watched from the mantel. I picked it up. Held it close. Then I put it back. Exactly where it belonged. At 7:45, I got in my car. Started the engine. Pulled out of the driveway. Lydia's curtains moved. Someone watching me leave. The courthouse was downtown. 20-minute drive. I gave myself extra time. Traffic was light. Morning commuters. School buses. Normal Friday. I parked in the public lot. Fed coins into the meter. 4 hours. Maximum time. Hopefully it wouldn't take that long. The courthouse steps were wide. Concrete. Cold. People moved in and out. Lawyers. Defendants. Families. Everyone with their own crisis. I climbed slowly. Each step deliberate. Careful. At the top, I looked back. At the street. The city. The world continuing without pause. Then I turned. Walked through the heavy glass doors. Inside smelled like floor wax and old wood. Voices echoed off marble walls. Security checkpoint ahead. I placed my purse on the conveyor belt. Walked through the metal detector. No alarms. No problems. A directory on the wall showed courtrooms. 3rd floor. Room 312. I took the elevator. Watched the numbers climb. 1, 2, 3. The doors opened. Martha was waiting in the hallway. Professional clothes. Briefcase. Calm expression. She walked toward me. Smiled. Asked if I was ready. I nodded. Couldn't speak. Throat too tight. She touched my arm. Said it would be okay. That we had this. Down the hall, another elevator opened. Lydia stepped out. Dave beside her. Jennifer Park behind them. Our eyes met across the distance. No one smiled. No one waved. Just recognition. Acknowledgement. The battle was here. Finally. Now. Martha guided me toward the courtroom doors. Inside, justice waited. One way or another, this ended today.